The sky over HFY War burned red from plasma fire and smoke. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the cracked plain, with her silver skin shining under the dying light. Her tall frame held steady, even as exhaustion pulled at every muscle. Around her, the last warriors of the Virathi Concord formed a thin circle. Spears glowed faintly in their hands, but many already flickered weak. The Dominion machines closed in from every side. Lyra raised her ancestral weapon, Dawn's Fang, high. The long energy spear hummed with soft blue light along its crystal shaft. She had carried this blade since her first rite of passage. Now it felt heavier than ever. The Dominion warwalkers towered above the battlefield. Their insect bodies clicked and whirred. Metal legs stabbed into the ground with each step. Plasma lances glowed hot on their fronts. Gravitic shields shimmered like heat waves. She shouted orders in the old Virathi tongue. "Hold the line, warriors. Protect the weak behind us." Her voice carried clear over the roar of engines. A young fighter beside her nodded and tightened his grip on his own spear. His name was Terran. He had joined the Phalanx only 3 cycles ago. Now he stood shoulder to shoulder with veterans twice his age. The first wave struck without warning. 3 warwalkers charged straight at the center of the circle. Their lances spat white fire. Lyra leaped forward. She spun her spear in a wide arc. The blade caught the beam and bent it aside. Sparks flew across her armor. The heat seared her cheek, but she ignored it. She drove the point of Dawn's Fang into the nearest walker's chestplate. The crystal tip punched through metal and found the power core inside. A bright flash erupted. The machine staggered, then collapsed in a heap of twisted limbs. Cheers rose from the Virathi line, but they died quickly. More machines advanced. 2 flanked left, 1 flanked right. Their railguns whined as they charged. Lyra twisted to meet the threat. She blocked a spike with her spear, jarred her arms. Pain shot through her shoulders. She gritted her teeth and pushed back. The spike ricocheted into the dirt. Terran fought beside her. His spear danced in quick thrusts. He pierced a sensor cluster on one walker. The machine reared back, blind for a moment. Then it fired wildly. Plasma scorched the ground near Lyra's feet. She rolled aside and came up, striking again. Dawn's Fang sang as it cut through a leg joint. The walker toppled sideways, crushing 2 smaller drones beneath it. The circle shrank, smaller and smaller. The Virathi gave ground step by step. Bodies littered the plain. Some still moved, some did not. Lyra saw an elder warrior fall. His spear clattered from lifeless fingers. She felt rage rise hot in her chest. She charged the machine that killed him. Her spear flashed forward. It struck true. The walker shuddered and died. But the cost grew too high. Warriors dropped one after another. Their elegant armor cracked. Their graceful movements slowed. Overwhelmed Virathi. Honor Lyra panted hard. Sweat stung her eyes. She looked around. Only 12 fighters remained standing. 12 against an endless tide. A new sound rose above the battle. A deep rumble rolled across the sky. Lyra glanced up. Dark shapes moved high above. Dominion dropships. More reinforcements. She cursed under her breath. The Concord fleet had promised aid days ago. None had come. The sky stayed empty except for enemy vessels. The warwalkers tightened their ring. They moved as one perfect machine. Their targeting lasers painted red dots across Lyra's chest and arms. She raised Dawn's Fang in defiance. The spear glowed brighter for a moment, as if answering her will. She whispered an old prayer to the ancestors. "Give me strength, just a little longer." The closest walker lunged. Its claw arm swung down. Lyra met it with her spear. The 2 weapons clashed. Crystal met alloy. A high ringing note filled the air. The impact traveled up her arms into her spine. She held firm, clenched. She pushed back with all her remaining power. The claws scraped along the shaft, sparks showered down. Then she heard the crack. A thin line appeared along Dawn's fang, right below the blade. The crystal shaft splintered. The glow flickered wildly. Lyra stared in horror. No, not now. She twisted hard to keep the weapon together. The walker pressed its attack. Another claw came in fast. She blocked again. The spear broke completely. The upper half flew away, spinning through the air. The lower half remained in her grip. Useless. The blade clattered to the ground and went dark. Lyra stood frozen for one heartbeat. The Dominion machines paused too, as if surprised by the sudden silence. She looked down at the broken weapon. Her hands shook. Rage and despair mixed inside her. She raised the shattered haft anyway. She would die fighting. She would not kneel. The warwalkers resumed their advance. Their lances powered up again. Red targeting dots danced across her body. Herself. She felt the wind shift. Something changed in the air. A new roar grew louder and closer. Not from the machines, not from the skyships. High above, a single small shape fell fast, trailing fire and smoke. It screamed through the atmosphere. The object struck the ground hard, between Lyra and the nearest warwalker. Dirt exploded upward. A shockwave knocked several machines back. Lyra shielded her eyes with one arm. When the dust settled, a round pod sat half buried in the crater. Its hull glowed cherry red from re-entry. Heat steamed off the surface. Hatches popped open with sharp bangs. A figure stepped out. The newcomer wore heavy armor. Black plates covered most of his body. Many sections showed patches and welds. No elegant curves, no glowing runes, just brutal function. He carried a thick rifle across his back. The barrel looked wide enough to swallow a fist. In one hand he held a short, heavy blade. The edge caught the red light and gleamed cold. He straightened up, rolled his shoulders, looked around at the circle of warwalkers. Then his gaze settled on Lyra. She still held the broken spear haft. Her silver skin streaked with blood and ash. Her eyes wide with shock. The human tilted his head. His visor lifted with a hiss, revealing a face streaked with sweat and dirt. A small, crooked smile tugged at his mouth. He keyed his external speaker. His voice came out calm and rough. "Mind if I join the fight?" Lyra blinked. She could not process the words at first. A human, here, alone, against this. A laugh almost escaped her throat, but pain stopped it. She stared at the stranger. He stood relaxed as if he had just walked into a market stall, not a battlefield. The Dominion machines recalibrated. Their lasers shifted to the new target. Lyra tensed. She expected the human to die instantly. No baseline species could survive this. She had read the reports. Humans were clever, traitors, fragile. They avoided war. Yet this one looked ready, eager, even amused. Tightened her grip on the broken haft. Whatever came next, she would face it beside this impossible stranger. The circle of death tightened once more, but now something new stood inside it. Something unknown. Something dangerous. The human raised his blade. He cracked his neck once. Then he moved. The ridge above the plain filled with black shapes. More warwalkers climbed into view. Their legs stabbed the earth in perfect rhythm. Drones hummed overhead like angry insects. Artillery pods locked on with low whines. Lyra felt the battlefield shift. The air grew thicker with the promise of death. She stood beside the human. Her overcharged spear crackled blue fire along its broken edge. The weapon felt wild in her hands, ready to explode if she pushed too hard. The human Jax looked up at the ridge. He rolled his shoulders once. Armor plates scraped together. He cracked his neck, loud enough to hear over the engines. Then he spoke into his vox, voice still calm. "They really want us dead. Guess we disappoint them." Lyra did not understand all his words, but she felt the spirit behind them. She nodded once, raised her spear. The blue glow lit her silver face. She stepped forward. Jax matched her pace. They moved as one toward the coming wave. The first artillery shell landed close, erupted in a tall column. Rocks and metal flew. Lyra leaped aside. Jax rolled low. Both came up running. A second shell hit behind them. The shockwave pushed them forward. They used the force to close distance faster. Warwalkers met them at the base of the ridge. 3 charged together, lances glowing hot. Jax picked the center one. He sprinted straight at it, rifle gone now. He carried only his heavy blade. He jumped at the last second. Boots slammed into the walker's chestplate. The impact rang like a hammer on steel. The machine staggered back. He landed on its shoulder, grabbed an antenna for balance, drove the blade down into the neck joint. Metal parted. Sparks flew. The walker screamed electronic pain, then toppled forward. Jax rode it down, jumped clear before it hit ground. Lyra took the left flank. She spun her spear in wide arcs. Blue fire trailed like comet tails. She struck a sensor array. The walker reared blind. She darted under its legs, thrust upward into the soft underbelly. Sank deep. Power core breached. The machine exploded upward. She rolled away from the blast. Heat washed over her back. The third walker targeted Jax. It fired rail spikes in a tight burst. He twisted sideways. One spike grazed his side. Armor tore. Blood welled dark. He ignored it, charged again, grabbed the walker's front leg. With both hands he pulled sideways. Muscles strained under torn plating. The leg joint popped. The walker lost balance, crashed to one knee. Jax climbed its back, drove the blade into the command module. The walker went limp. Lyra watched him fight. She saw raw power in every move. No grace, no poetry, just endless stubborn force. He took damage, yet he kept going. He bled, yet he laughed. That laugh rang across the field, full of life, full of joy. It cut through the roar of battle like a blade. More machines poured down the ridge, a full company now, supported by hover drones that spat energy bursts. Lyra felt her warriors rally behind her. Terran limped forward, his arm. He raised his spear. Others followed. They formed a loose wedge, with Lyra and Jax at the point. The human glanced back, saw the Virathi line. He gave a quick nod, then charged again. He barreled into a group of 3 walkers, shoulders lowered. He hit the first like a battering ram. The machine staggered into the second. All 3 tangled together. He hacked with his blade, cut limbs, cut joints, cut power lines. Fluid and sparks rained down. Lyra moved beside him. Her spear danced. Precise strikes found weak points. She pierced optic clusters. She severed actuator cables. She worked the gaps he created. Where he smashed open armor, she finished the kill. They flowed together, perfect rhythm. One brutal, one elegant, one unstoppable. A hover drone swooped low. It targeted Lyra. Energy beam lanced down. She raised her spear. The blue blade caught the shot. Power surged. The weapon bucked hard in her hands. She thrust upward. The emitter head flared bright. The drone split in half. Pieces rained down, burning. Jax laughed again, louder this time. He grabbed a fallen walker leg, used it like a club, swung hard, smashed 2 drones from the sky. Metal crumpled, sparks flew. He dropped the leg, picked up a Dominion rail spike from the dirt, used it as a spear, threw it like a javelin. The spike punched through a warwalker's shield, buried deep in the core. The machine detonated. Lyra stared at the destruction. Humans fought dirty. They used anything at hand. They turned enemy weapons against them. She felt something shift inside her. Respect grew into wonder. This species did not break. They bent, They adapted. They thrived in chaos. The Dominion Commander mech finally descended. It towered over the others. 8 legs clicked. Arachnid body gleamed black. Command antenna waved like feelers. It broadcast a signal. All remaining machines locked on Lyra and Jax. The ridge lit with targeting lasers. Red dots covered them both. Jax looked up at the giant mech. He wiped blood from his face, smiled. Wider. Big one, huh? About time. He charged straight at it. No hesitation. Lyra followed close. Her spear hummed dangerous. The commander mech raised front legs, claws extended. Plasma cannons charged on its back. Jax reached it first. He slid under a descending claw, rolled between legs, came up behind, grabbed a rear joint, pulled with all his strength. Metal groaned. The leg buckled. The mech tilted. Lyra struck from the front. She leaped high, spear thrust at the command module. The blue blade met shielding. Energy clashed. Fire bloomed. The shield held. She landed, rolled aside. A claw swiped where she stood. Dirt exploded. Jax climbed the tilted side. He hacked at joints. Blades sank deep. Sparks flew. The mech shook, tried to shake him off. He held tight, climbed higher, reached the main body, drove the blade into a seam, twisted, pulled, armor peeled back, exposed wiring and coolant lines. The commander mech reared, screamed electronic rage. It fired plasma wildly. Beams scorched the air. Ground Lyra. Dodged. Rolled under a leg. Thrust her spear into the underbelly. Blue fire met metal. The blade burned through. The mech shuddered. Jax pulled his blade free, jumped down, landed hard, rolled to his feet. He looked at Lyra, nodded once. Together now. They attacked as one. Lyra from the front, Jax from the side. She struck high, he struck low. Her spear pierced sensors, his blade severed legs. The mech staggered, lost balance, toppled sideways, crashed with earth-shaking force. Dust rose thick. Lyra and Jax stood over the fallen giant. Smoke curled from its broken body. The remaining warwalkers paused, their signals disrupted. They milled confused. Lyra lowered her spear. The blue glow dimmed. The power cell flickered weak. Jax stood beside her, breathing hard. Blood ran down his armor, yet his eyes burned bright. He looked at her. Not done yet. She nodded. They turned to face the scattered machines. The Varathi warriors closed ranks. Terran raised his spear. Others followed. Hope flickered in their eyes. The battlefield still roared. Smoke still choked the air, but the tide had turned. 2 figures stood at the center. One silver, one battered. Together they had broken the unbreakable, and the fight was far from over. The fallen commander mech lay smoking on its side. Black legs twitched once, then stilled. Sparks still popped from torn wiring. The battlefield grew quieter for a moment. Only the low whine of damaged machines and distant artillery fire remained. Lyra stood over the wreckage. Her chest rose and fell fast. The overcharged spear in her hands flickered weaker now. Blue light pulsed uneven. The power cell Jax gave her neared its end. She felt heat radiate from the haft. It burned her palms, even through gloves. Jax wiped sweat and blood from his face with the back of one gauntlet. He looked around at the scattered Dominion forces. The surviving warwalkers milled in confusion, their command signals broken. They no longer moved as one perfect unit. Some backed away. Others turned in slow circles, searching for new orders. Drones hovered uncertain. High above the ridge, more shapes gathered. Fresh reinforcements arrived too late to save their leader. Lyra glanced at her remaining warriors, leaned on his spear. His arm hung limp. Blood dripped steady from a deep gash. Others stood in loose formation, eyes wide with shock and growing hope. They had watched 2 figures break an unstoppable enemy. They had seen a human laugh while tearing apart machines built to crush worlds. Jax cracked his knuckles again, the sound sharp in the sudden quiet. He picked up a fallen rail spike from the dirt, tested its weight, then looked at Lyra. "We finish this now, while they hesitate. She nodded. The blue blade on her spear flared once more. She stepped forward. Jax matched her stride. They advanced toward the confused machines. The Virathi followed close. Behind them the thin line grew bolder. Spears raised. Voices rose in low chant, an old battle hymn from the homeworlds. The Dominion forces reacted slow. A group of 5 warwalkers turned toward the advancing pair. Their lances powered up weak, plasma glow dimmed from power loss. Jax charged first. He threw the rail spike like a heavy javelin. It spun end over end, punched through the lead walker's shield, buried deep in the chest plate. The machine staggered. Sparks flew from the wound. Jax followed close, grabbed a leg joint, pulled hard. The locker toppled sideways, crashed into its neighbor. Both machines tangled together, struggling. Lyra moved to the right. She spun low, spear haft whipped around. The blue edge sliced through a hover drone mid-air. The drone split clean. Pieces tumbled, burning. She leaped over the wreckage, thrust at the next walker. The blade found a cracked armor seam, sank deep. Fire bloomed inside. The machine shuddered, then exploded outward. Heat pushed her back. She rolled with it, came up ready. Jax fought like a force of nature. He smashed a walker's optic cluster with his fist. Glass shattered. Sparks flew. He drove his blade into the opening, twisted hard. The core detonated. A walker collapsed in on itself. He kicked the wreckage aside, moved to the next. Without pause, without rest. Closed in now. 10 machines formed a half circle. They advanced together, lances raised, railguns charging. Lyra felt the danger. She shouted to her warriors. Form wedge. Protect the flanks. Terran and the others moved fast. They linked arms, spears outward. The Virathi line became a sharp point, with Lyra and Jax at the front. The machines fired. Rail spikes hissed through the air. Lyra raised her spear. The blue blade cut several shots. Energy clashed. The weapon bucked hard. She held firm. Pain shot through her arms. Jax ducked low. A spike grazed his helmet. Visor cracked further. He laughed, rough and loud, then charged straight into the line. He hit the center machine shoulder first. Armor met armor. The walker staggered back into 2 others. All 3 fell in a heap. Jax climbed the pile, hacked downward. Blades sank into joints. Fluid sprayed. He ripped one leg free, used it to club another machine. The Dominion walkers faltered. Their formation broke. Lyra pushed through the gap. Precise, deadly. She struck sensors. She severed cables. She pierced cores. Blue fire left glowing trails across black metal. Each kill fed the next. She moved faster, stronger. The unstable power made her weapon sing, a dangerous song. Jax fought beside her. He took hits. Plasma scorched his side. Rail spikes dented his chest plate. Blood soaked his undersuit. Yet he kept moving. He grabbed the walker by the claw arm, swung it like a hammer, smashed it into 2 more. The machines crumpled. Metal screamed. He dropped the broken limb, picked up a Dominion lance from the ground, fired it point blank. The plasma beam burned through shield and armor. The walker melted from the inside. The Virathi warriors grew fierce. They saw their commander fight beside the human. They saw victory possible. Terran thrust his spear into a drone, took it down. Another warrior leaped onto a walker, drove his blade into a joint. The machine fell. They cheered, loud and clear. The sound rolled across the plain. Arrived from the ridge. A fresh wave of war walkers, heavy models with thicker armor and twin lances. They marched down in tight ranks. Artillery pods behind them began to fire again. Shells landed closer. Dirt erupted. Shockwaves knocked fighters off balance. Lyra felt the ground shake. She steadied herself, raised her spear high. Jax looked at the new threat. He grinned wider. Blood stained his teeth. They just keep coming. Fine by me. He sprinted toward the heavy models. Lyra followed close. They reached the first rank together. Jax slid under a lance beam, came up inside the guard, drove his blade upward, into the groin joint. The heavy walker buckled. Lyra struck from the side. Blue spear sank into the power feed. The machine exploded bright white. Both leaped back unharmed. They fought on, side by side. The human smashed, the Virathi cut. They broke armor. They severed limbs. They destroyed cores. Machine after machine fell. The ridge emptied as more walkers died. To target them. But Jax and Lyra moved too fast. Too unpredictable. Shells landed wide. Harmless. Lyra felt her spear grow hotter. The blue glow turned white. Edges of the emitter cracked. She knew it would not last much longer. Yet she pushed harder. Each strike carried all her strength, all her hope. Jax bled from many wounds. His left arm hung slower. His breaths came ragged. Yet his eyes burned fierce. He fought with joy, with pure stubborn will. He refused to fall. He refused to yield. A final heavy walker charged. It towered over the others. Twin lances glowed hot. Jax met it head on. He grabbed one lance arm, pulled it down. The beam scorched the ground. Lyra leaped high, thrust her spear into the command module. The white-hot blade burned through shielding, sank deep. The walker froze, then detonated in a massive fireball. Heat rolled outward, smoke rose thick. Silence fell again. Only crackling fires and distant wind remained. The Dominion forces broke completely. Surviving machines turned and fled back over the ridge, back toward their lines. They ran. Lyra lowered her spear. The blade flickered once, then died. The emitter head went dark. Smoke curled from the haft. She dropped to one knee, exhausted. Jax stood beside her. He leaned on his broken blade, breathing hard. He looked down at her, offered his hand. She took it. He pulled her up. They stood together amid the wreckage. Bodies of machines stretched far. Smoke rose in columns. The plain belonged to them now. The Virathi warriors gathered close. Terran limped forward, raised his spear. Others followed. They chanted low, a song of victory, a song of thanks. Lyra looked at Jax, his armor torn, his face bloody, yet he smiled. Small, crooked, real. He spoke soft, voice rough from smoke and battle. "Not bad for a bad drop," he said. Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest. She clasped his forearm in the old warrior way. Strength met strength. Silver met battered black. She spoke quiet. "You saved us, human," she said. Shoulder. "Nah, we saved each other." Behind them the first Concord dropships appeared on the horizon. Too late for the fight, but in time to see the field of broken machines, and two figures standing tall amid the ruin. One graceful, one fierce, together unbreakable. The battle ended, but the legend began. The battlefield lay quiet, under a sky turning deep purple. Smoke rose straight up from twisted metal husks. No wind moved to scatter it. The air smelled of burned circuits, scorched earth, and blood. Lyra stood with her broken spear haft, still clutched tight. The emitter head stayed dark now. No more blue fire, no more power. Jax leaned on his heavy blade, the tip buried shallow in the dirt to steady him. His armor hung in pieces. Torn plates dangled from straps. Blood soaked through gaps in the black plating. His breathing came slow and deep. Each breath pulled at wounds he refused to show. Around them the Virathi warriors gathered slow. Terran limped closest, his spear used as a crutch now. Blood crusted black on his silver arm. Other fighters formed a loose ring, faces streaked with ash and sweat, eyes wide with something new. Not just relief, not just victory. Something deeper. Awe mixed with wonder. They stared at the human as if seeing a myth step out of old stories. Concord dropships broke through low clouds. Hulls gleamed silver against the darkening sky. Engines hummed. Soft landing thrusters flared blue. They touched down gentle, far from the worst wreckage. Ramps lowered. Troops poured out in neat lines. Spears held high, shields active. They moved fast toward the survivors. Officers shouted orders. Medics ran ahead with glowing triage kits. Lyra watched them come. Too late, she thought. The fight already won, without them. Yet she felt no anger, only tired calm. She turned to Jax. He still stared at the ridge, where the last Dominion machines had fled. Black shapes vanished into distant haze. He shook his head once. Small laugh escaped his throat. They ran, like they finally remembered they could die. He pulled his blade free from the ground, wiped the edge on a torn piece of his own armor sheath, looked at Lyra. His cracked visor hung open. One lens gone completely, the other spiderwebbed. His eyes met hers. Clear, sharp, still bright, with leftover. Fire. Lyra spoke first, voice low but steady. You fought like no one I have ever seen. Human. Jax shrugged one shoulder. The motion pulled at a wound. He winced but hit it quick. Name is Jax. Not human. Just me. She tilted her head. The old Virathi greeting gesture. Respect offered, respect returned. Jax, I am Lyra Voss, commander of what remains here. You came from the sky, alone. You could have died first. He looked around at the field. Broken walkers stretched far. Some still sparked. Some leaked final streams of fluid. He met her gaze again. Could have, but did not. Besides, looked like you needed a hand. Mind if I join the fight? Seemed polite? A small smile touched her lips. First time since the battle began. She felt strange warmth in her chest, not from wounds, not from exhaustion, from something shared, something earned. Terran stepped closer. He bowed low, spear across his chest. In thanks, human Jax. You saved my commander. You saved us all. Easy, kid. Your people fought hard, held the line long enough for me to crash land. You get credit too. More Virathi gathered. They murmured among themselves, words like impossible, words like unbreakable, words like human. Some reached out, touched his torn armor gentle, as if testing if he felt real. Jax let them. He stood steady, did not pull away. Concord medics reached the group first. They scanned Lyra fast. Light beams played over her silver skin. They moved to Jax next. He raised one hand, stopped them. Save it for the one still bleeding worse. I am fine. The lead medic hesitated, looked at the blood on his armor, looked at his face, then nodded once, stepped back. A tall officer approached next, armor polished, clean, no battle marks. He stopped before Lyra, saluted sharp. Commander Voss. The Concorde regrets the delay. We came as fast as engines allowed. Lyra met his eyes, held them long. She spoke calm. No blame falls on you. The battle ended before you arrived. The officer looked past her. At the field. At the wreckage. At Jax. He swallowed once, then spoke softer. What happened here? Lyra glanced at Jax. He gave a small nod. She turned back. One of us fell from the sky. He asked to join the fight. Then he broke their machines, one by one, until nothing remained to break. The officer stared at Jax. Jax gave a tired grin, raised his blade in loose salute. Evening, sir. Nice of you to drop by. The officer blinked, then returned a stiff salute. His voice came quieter. You are human. Jax nodded. Yeah, last time I checked. Word spread fast among the arriving troops. Whispers grew. They pointed. They stared. They took hollow captures of the field, of the two figures standing together. One tall, silver, one battered, black. The images would travel far, to every Concorde world, to every allied ship, to every enemy listening post. Lyra felt the weight of eyes. She stepped closer to Jax, spoke soft so only he heard. You are hurt. Let the medics see you. He shook his head. Stubborn. I have had worse. Scraped knees from worse drops. Trust me. She studied his face, saw lines of pain he tried to hide, saw blood still fresh, saw strength that refused to bend. She placed one hand on his shoulder plate. gentle. The metal felt warm under her palm. Then rest here, with us, until you choose to leave. Jax looked at her long, then nodded once. Deal. They walked slow toward the nearest dropship. Medics flanked them. Vyrathi warriors followed close. Terran limped beside Jax, offered his shoulder for support. Jax took it, grateful. No pride stopped him now. Inside the ship, lights glowed soft. Medbays hummed. Low voices spoke in calm tones. Lyra sat on a bench. Jax dropped beside her. Armor clanked loud against metal. He leaned back, closed his eyes for first time since landing. Lyra watched him. She saw chest rise, fall. Steady rhythm. She felt something settle inside her. A bond forged in fire. A debt that could never repay. Quiet. Your people. Are they all like you? Jax opened one eye, looked at her. Small smile returned. Some worse, some better. We just do not quit easy. When cornered, we get mean. When friends need help, we show up. Late sometimes, but we show up. She nodded slow. I see that now. The galaxy will see it too. He chuckled low. Rough sound. Yeah. Word travels fast, especially when it involves a lot of broken war machines. Outside the ship, Concord forces secured the plane. Engineers moved in to salvage what they could. Scouts pushed forward to track fleeing Dominion units. Medics treated wounded. Vyrathi sang soft victory songs under the stars. Lyra looked out through the open ramp, saw smoke still rise, saw broken metal gleam under searchlights, saw her warriors stand taller than before. She turned back to Jax. He slept now, head tipped back against the bulkhead. Breath even, wounds still seeped, but life held strong. She stood quiet, moved to the ramp edge, looked up at stars, emerging one by one. Somewhere out there more humans waited, more drops ready, more fights coming. She felt no fear now, only certainty. The title of this day would spread. Encircled, her spear broke. Then a human fell from the sky. Mind if I join the fight? Legends began that way. Simple words, heavy with truth. And somewhere in the dark between stars, other humans heard the call. Already plotting their next impossible drop. Already grinning at the thought of joining the fight. The galaxy would never forget this day, nor the human who fell to make it happen. The human moved before anyone could blink. He dropped low and charged straight at the closest warwalker. His heavy boots pounded the cracked ground. Each step kicked up dust and small rocks. The machine reacted fast. Its plasma lance swung down in a bright arc. The human slid under the beam on one knee. Sparks flew where the heat scorched his shoulder plate. He did not slow. He drove his thick blade into the walker's knee joint. The monomolecular edge bit deep. Metal screeched as he twisted hard. Hydraulic lines burst. Fluid sprayed out in dark jets like blood. The walker lurched sideways. Its leg buckled. The whole machine toppled with a crash that shook the ground. Two smaller drones crushed beneath it, exploded in bright flashes. Lyra watched with wide eyes. She still held the broken haft of Dawn's fang. Her mind raced. Humans were supposed to be weak, their bodies soft, their weapons primitive, yet this one fought like a storm-given form. She shook herself free of shock and stepped forward. She could not stand idle. The Dominion machines shifted focus. Half the circle turned toward the new threat. Their railguns whined as they charged. Lyra saw the danger. She shouted a warning, but the human already moved again. He rolled behind the wreckage of the fallen walker, came up fast with his big rifle raised. The weapon barked loud. Each shot sounded like thunder. Slugs hammered into the nearest machine's shield. The gravitic field flickered, then failed. The next round punched straight through armor. Sparks flew. Core systems detonated inside. The walker jerked once and collapsed smoking. Lyra stared. The Dominion shield stopped energy weapons with ease. Vyrathi plasma lances glanced off them. yet these crude kinetic rounds tore through like nothing. She felt a strange mix of awe and fear rise in her chest. She looked at her broken spear. The emitter head still glowed faint blue. Maybe enough power remained for one good strike. The human noticed her gaze. He reached to his belt. Without looking, pulled a small power cell free, tossed it toward her underhand. The cell spun through the air. Lyra caught it with one hand. The cell felt warm, heavy. She stared at it for half a heartbeat, then slammed it into the base of her broken haft. Contacts clicked, power surged. The emitter head flared violent blue. Light crackled along the jagged edge. It looked unstable, dangerous, but alive. She gripped the weapon tighter, felt new strength flow into her arms. She nodded once at the human. He gave a quick grin, then turned back to the fight. Another warwalker charged. It raised both front claws high. The human met it head-on. He ducked the first swing, grabbed the second claw with both hands. His armor groaned under the strain. Muscles bulged, visible through torn seals. He planted his feet, pulled hard. The claw arm bent backward with a scream of metal. The walker staggered off balance. The human released the arm, spun and drove his blade into the underbelly. Soft plating gave way. Sparks, fluid poured out. The machine shuddered and died. Lyra joined him now. She moved with her old grace, spear haft spinning in her hands. The overcharged blade left trails of blue fire. She struck at joints and sensors, precise, controlled, deadly. A walker tried to flank the human. She intercepted, thrust forward. The glowing tip sank into its optic cluster. The machine reared back blind. She twisted, ripped free, then struck again, lower this time, into the power feed. The walker exploded in a ball of white fire. Heat washed over her armor. She rolled away unharmed. Together they carved a path through the circle. The human smashed. The Virathi danced. Where he used raw force, she used skill. Where he broke, she cut. They moved without words, yet they matched each other perfectly. One covered the blind spots of the other. One drew fire so the other can strike. The Dominion commander noticed the change. A huge arachnid mech rose on the ridge. Its body gleamed black. Command antennae twitched. It sent signals. New waves of warwalkers crested the hill. Drones swarmed overhead. Artillery pods began to lock on. Lyra saw the shift. She felt the weight of it press down. They had bought time, but not victory. Not yet. She fought harder. Her spear blurred. Blue fire licked across enemy armor. She pierced a hover drone mid-flight. It spun out of control, crashed into two others. The explosion lit the battlefield bright. She spun to face the next threat. A rail spike hissed past her head, close enough to feel the wind. She ducked low, came up striking. The walker staggered back. She pressed the attack. Blade sank deep. Core breached. Another kill. The human laughed, a rough sound full of joy. He fought with the same wild energy. His rifle clicked empty. He dropped it without pause, drew a second smaller pistol from his thigh holster, fired point blank into a walker's faceplate. The slug blew through. The machine dropped. He kicked the wreckage aside, moved to the next target. Lyra watched him fight. She saw no fear, only focus, only thrill. He took hits. Plasma scorched his armor. Rail spikes dented plates. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead. Yet he never slowed. He never hesitated. He simply kept moving, kept breaking, kept killing. A warwalker targeted her from behind. She sensed it too late. The claw came down fast. She twisted, but not fast enough. The blow caught her shoulder. Armor cracked. Pain flared bright. She stumbled. The walker raised the claw again, ready to finish her. The human appeared like lightning. He slammed into the machine from the side, shoulder first. The impact rang like a bell. The walker staggered. The human grabbed its raised arm, wrenched it backward. Metal tore. He drove his blade into the joint, twisted, pulled. The entire arm came free. Hydraulic fluid gushed. The walker screamed electronic pain, then fell silent as the human finished it, with a final thrust to the core. He turned to Lyra, offered a hand. She took it. He pulled her up steady. She nodded thanks. Failed her in that moment. She felt something new. Respect, admiration, a spark of hope. The circle tightened again. More machines poured in. The ridge filled with black shapes. Artillery fire began to fall. Dirt erupted around them. Shockwaves knocked warriors off their feet. Lyra saw Terran stagger. Blood ran down his arm. He still fought, but slower, weaker. The human looked at the ridge, saw the commander mech, saw the tide. He cracked his knuckles through torn gloves, then keyed his vox again, voice calm as before. Looks like they brought friends. Guess we'd better make this quick. Lyra felt a strange calm settle over her. She raised her unstable spear. Blue fire danced along the edge. She stepped beside the human, shoulder to shoulder. They faced the coming storm. Together. The battlefield roared louder. Smoke thickened. Air burned hot. Yet in the center of it all, two figures stood unbroken. One silver and graceful, one battered and fierce. The Dominion machines advanced. Easy victory. They found something else. Something impossible. Something human.